Thank you.
So thank you, Pravina. I'm just going to start today's talk. Hello, everybody. My name is Syed Arefin. I am a physics teacher for O level and A level. I have been teaching physics for last 13 years, and this has been my passion. So today's topic was chosen by me. There's a reason behind it. As I'm a teacher for a long time, I have seen a change in students, in parents, and as well as teachers' mindset. So we all are heading towards a future, right? So this future we can see it's gradually changing. However, eventually after 10 to 20 years, we're going to see a very significant change. Our next generation is going to see a very significant change. So all for that, today's topic on the talk is thinking, a mass-stated culture in the context of theory versus experiment and the advancement of civilization. So let me be very brief in the beginning, which is in the beginning of 18th century and till the end of 18th century, we can observe that experimentalists had a very strong grasp over science, commerce, and other fields. However, the theorists are there. Today's discussion is not directly to differentiate and compare between the experimentalists and the theorists, however, to distinguish their own roles and how this can change our path to the future. And also why this is very important for us to think, to nurture ourselves, nurture our uh, uh, learning, knowledge, and language. So let's get started. So let's see what we are going to discuss today. Today's discussion will be on the following topics. First one is what intrigues our mind. Second one is conscious versus subconscious. Third one is superficial versus deep. Fourth one is types of thinking. Fifth one is what impact it can have on society. Number six, what impact it can have on growth of the mind. That means the individual growth. And finally, we're going to talk about how practicing this thinking and having the culture of thinking are different and how they can impact in the overall uh, advancement. Okay. So first, I'd like to start with an experiment. I'd like to everybody to just go through this. I'm just going to read it out for you, and I'm just going to explain briefly on this experiment. I'd like all of you to write it down, whatever your opinion or answer is. Put it down after the talk. You can always give the answer. So the experiment goes like this. A non-Chinese speaking person is locked in a room with a book filled with Chinese symbols and a set of instructions for manipulating the symbols. A person from outside passes a note to him written in Chinese. The person inside the room responds to the note as per the regulations before passing the note back to the person outside. So this is the scenario here, as you can see. My question is, what do you think of this? Either you think as the person has learned the Chinese language, or he's just following the instruction, or the Chinese language is not understandable. The person, whoever giving the note back, is giving a wrong answer, must have been giving a wrong answer. So I'm just going to give you 10 seconds to write it down, your answers. Just give it a thought, small thought. I hope we all are good here. So this experiment actually was to give you something to think about on the present and very intriguing concept that we are having in the present days is AI, right? Artificial intelligence. So think about it and try to connect with the artificial intelligence. We're going to we're not going to cover artificial intelligence in this topic or in talk today. However, it's going to give us a very nice idea whether thinking is a very distinguished characteristics of human or the robots. Okay. Okay, great. So next is theory versus experiment. As I said before, theorists have been, working tremendously throughout the, beginning of the science, history of science. From my perception, when the first fire was discovered, that was the beginning of science. And people started to comprehend a lot of things and build their own, uh, you know, things to survive, to support them. So I have given two very, very, very renowned scientists. You can see two pictures. On my left side, or on your left side, uh, this person is Albert Einstein. And to your right, this person is Nikola Tesla. So what Einstein used to do is have thought experiments. Most of his, you know, theories and most of his postulates were on the basis of thought experiments. So he first came up with the special theory of relativity from the and at the end of 19th century, and then he found out a very elegant theory, which is special theory of relativity. And we all know the outcome, or a very small part of that theory, is equals to mc square, which is a very renowned equation. And on the other hand, Nikola Tesla was like a decade ahead of Einstein. He was born like 20 years back before Einstein. So he was, on the other hand, an experimentalist. He wanted to try everything out. He wanted to see hands-on everything, whether it's working or not, how it's working. However, these two scientists are our example today for a particular reason. The reason is to give the idea that theory itself individually and experiment itself individually cannot bring something big for us. So if we want to achieve something great, we need to combine thinking and do the experiments as well. So if you know about Nikola Tesla used to build lots of fascinating machines, like he was the inventor of AC electricity. However, he used to think of that machine in his brain first. He used to design it inside his brain. And then he used to go for building the machine. So what about the problem he was facing? He used to face, he used to imagine it. So imagination is the key here. So the basic and core idea of thinking is imagination. Now, obviously, imagination cannot surpass something that we haven't ever experienced. So whatever we experience, we imagine it. So what does it imagine? What does imagining uh, mean here? It means that we are actually combining all the data inside of our head and trying to get something different than the usual. So it's a permutation and combination of all the data inside our head. So the more we observe, the more we learn, the more we get to get creative, the more we get to think more profoundly, more precisely. Hence, our experiments will be errorless and more effective. Okay? So, this is the foundation of our science and technology. So, theory has given the idea, and experiments, though based upon the theory as well, has always proven how to advance through future. So to understand how theory uh, trumps over experiments sometimes, we're going to talk about a very intriguing topic here, which is conscious mind and subconscious mind. So more or less, we know that subconscious mind is a very strong region where most of us cannot enter, or we don't have any control over it. Let me give you an example. It happens to a lot of us that maybe we just got out of office, and then we are thinking something deeply, and we are occupied with something very important, or maybe we are thinking about your family, we are thinking about something else. However, if this is a walking distance from your office to your home, or maybe you have to take a bus, or maybe you are driving, it happens that once you get home, you sometimes forget part of your journey from your office to home. So the thing is, subconscious mind is driving you, right? As your subconscious mind have has all the mapping of the route from your office to house, it can actually drive you throughout the whole journey, even you are not conscious sometimes. However, this is obviously not very suggested, or uh, it's not safe. But yes, as human being, we do face these things. We do have these sort of experiences in our life. So subconscious mind has a bigger zone inside our head. So it controls a lot of things, our emotions, right? Our habits, our daily routine, and how we talk to each other, how we comprehend something, how we have the perception of different things. It's all driven by the subconscious. The interesting part is you can actually control your subconscious. How? By controlling your conscious. So if we have the practice of controlling our conscious, if we have a very meticulous way of controlling our conscious, then we can control our subconscious. It's a matter of practice. If you do a lot of practice, there's a thing called uh, brain memory and muscle memory, if you know what I mean. So muscle memory is something that your muscles can remember and do as a reflex. So when a batsman is on the ground, that batsman gets a very fraction of second to think about how to react to a ball, right? However, his years of practice gives him the upper hand to face that ball and score runs. Okay, so there's few types of thinking I have included here that can actually shape our subconscious. So critical thinking, analytical thinking, creative thinking, abstract, concrete, convergent, and divergent. I'm just going to give you a very superficial idea about these things because we don't have time to go deeper into these things. Number one is critical thinking. It allows you to manipulate the information. When we are talking to somebody, when someone is proposing us something, or if we are a salesperson, when we are trying to sell something to someone, what is happening is I'm to read the data, the other person and my standing, the environment, everything is actually taken into account of, pardon me, I'm just going to keep my phone silent. So we're taking those things into account to make our decisions. Now, what is analytical? Analytical is about examining the parts and arguments. It's kind of the critical thinking. However, it's a part of the critical thinking. Critical thinking includes everything. And analytical thinking includes only the part that you're analyzing directly. And creative thinking is, as I said earlier, that it's a permutation and combination, right, of your data that you have information inside your head. So when we get to permute and combine so many data in such a way that it gives an outcome which is very logical and seems real, then we call it creative thinking, right? So if I want to produce some, a presentation, if I want to understand someone, if I want to understand the subject or a language, I need to go through my present understanding, present data, and include so many other data to generate something different. Now, abstract thinking is very interesting. It's like, when we first started to learn alphabets, numerics, symbols, right? It works on the symbols, how you comprehend. So sign languages are all there. So if you are trying to learn a language, it actually improves your abstract thinking process. So concrete thinking is like literal thinking. Literally, you are taking that, whatever in front of you, you take that verbatim and analyze it and think about it. You're not going to include your data, your thinking, your perception. You just take this as it is, and then you try to find out whether it's, logical or real or it's compatible, right? Whatever the situation is. So convergent thinking is you're thinking, among your uh, what's it called? The word available data here. It's a little bit, like concrete thinking. However, convergent thinking can sometimes give you a very uh, good output when you're thinking about your classroom. You're thinking about managing your students. So you know your students, you know your resources. So if you are a convergent thinker, then you can find out a way to solve your problems inside the classroom by using your existing resources. Divergent thinking is more like an abstract thinking. However, it's not exactly like abstract thinking. Divergent thinking is like, thinking out of the box sometimes. But obviously, thinking out of the box does not help all the time. So we have to, improvise, right? Okay. So how we can improve our thinking capacity and thinking practice? By writing, studying, mind mapping. That means if we want to, whenever we are studying a lot of work, we can do, multitasking, right? There's a thing called multitasking. That actually doesn't work. You have to have a plan. What is going to go first? What's going to go next? So mind mapping, then discussing, debating to get new ideas, to enrich your database. As I said, thinking is all about what? Exploring your database inside your head, right? And meditating. How meditating? It actually focuses, right? It focuses your concentration towards the data you want to analyze, you want to think, and you want to get an output. So what impact does thinking have on the growth of mind? As you can see, thinking is something you need to do to be rational. If you don't think, you don't find yourself as a rational person. It actually creates a more craving inside you to learn more and to find the missing pieces of a puzzle. When you are thinking, you find out that sometimes this doesn't fit. So what do? You keep that problem aside. You try to find out the puzzle and try to complete it. So if you don't have the practice or the culture of thinking, then you will give up. What we do is short. We naturally gives up. We naturally give up. And the last one is dive into deeper region. So there are some topics, there are some ideas that we sometimes don't go or dive deeper into. And it actually has an impact on the society, on the decision making of a society. I'd like to mention a very significant one, which is TikTok. You can see a lot of generation, this young generation and the millennials are so much into these softwares. So we are not thinking about the impacts or how it's going to, shape our future here. So obviously, deep thinkers can always find a solution that is more sustainable. Now we can differentiate among ourselves, among our ideas, and find a best possible answer. Our moral and logical comparison capability will increase, and our driving factors like to live, to see beautiful things, to appreciate beautiful things will increase. Now, my final discussion is culture versus practice. So what is practice? Practice is when you do it over and over and over and again. We are actually perfecting ourselves by doing it so many times. However, we are not sharing it with someone I know. We are not intrigued. We are not inspiring somebody we know. We are doing the practice on our own. To grow a culture, to grow widely, we need to do what? We need to practice as well as share with everybody. So thinking should not be a practice. It should not be bounded only inside practices. It should be a culture among us, so that everything we see, we observe, can have a deeper meaning. And from the deeper meaning, we can have profound results, profound understandings of the nature of human and the universe. So at the end, I have 4 lines for you, which I have written like 4 or 5 years back. If you find it intriguing, give it a thought. Okay, then, my discussion on thinking, the mass needed culture, has come to an end. It would be really nice to have a very broader discussion. including more spectra in it. However, this is just the beginning. We should always keep these things in mind, that thinking can help us more, even we are talking about technology, business, or whatever it is. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Syed. Can you stop sharing your screen so that the audience can have a better view of you?
Of course.
Yes, sir.
So,
we
yes.
have 12 questions here posted by the audience. I will read out those to you. Most of the points are explained and covered by you. Still, they want to know more about it. So the first question is, how do you believe fostering a culture of thinking is essential for societal progress and the advancement of civilization?
Okay. Would you please read the question again?
Yeah. How do you believe fostering a culture of thinking is essential for societal progress and the advancement of civilization?
Well, as I said, practicing in culture, these are two different things. Both are positive. So rather having a culture is more important. Why? Because culture can actually spread out. It can have a very positive impact. So if I'm practicing cricket and I'm not having practice with my teammates, that is not going to give a very good outcome. However, for the advancement of civilization, why culture is needed is, let's say there are people who can build cars, those who are people who can build rockets, those people who can have people who have very profound knowledge of agriculture. So if you can divide them culturally according to their uh, works, then it's going to make a harmony. So I'm not differentiating or dividing. However, having a very significant and profound culture and try to, if we accumulate them, can give better outcome. I hope I have answered your question well.
Mm-hmm. So how can we encourage a balance between theoretical exploration and experimental application in educational systems to cultivate a holistic thinking culture?
Excellent question. I really appreciate it. See, the thing is, I'll give you a very small example. I have seen so many students sometimes use a calculator to calculate even a very, very small number. Why is that? I sometimes ask them. Because humans have created the calculator. It is just the command that humans give. So first, you need to give your brain a very good, you know, appreciation that your brain can do a lot of things. So we have to use it. It's a very powerful tool. So in our classrooms, in our education, thinking, making a thinking culture can actually bring a lot, not only product wise, also the nourishment and improvisation and improvement of our learners. Our learners face a lot of difficulties personally and subject wise. Say as a student can do very good in language. However, that person is not doing good in math. Why? Because his thinking process is making it interesting for him. So if we can intrigue that learner's thinking process for mathematics rather than just doing the experiments, then that person can have a very defined perception of what he or she is going to do. If I'm going to make a robot, I need to understand how these things work, why I need a robot, how the robots work, and how I want my robot to work. So these are all happening inside your brain, and then you give birth to a very beautiful child, which is technology, or with the help of experiments.
Right. So coming to physics, in the context of thinking a must-needed culture, how can educators effectively balance teaching theoretical frameworks with encouraging hands-on experimentation in the curriculum?
Okay, another excellent question. Well, we as a teacher, we all have faced these problems, and I'm pretty sure about it. However, what I find very interesting and effective is to, bring the examples and make them think. Sometimes I do show them simulations. Sometimes I do take them to the labs. Obviously, they need to have the practical skills. However, as I said in my last answer to the last question, is they need to have a very clear perception of what they're going to do here. Without knowing what they're going to do, what they're going to build, what they're going to work on, it's very difficult to keep those things in the long term memory, which is a very struggle to a lot of teachers and learners to keep things in the long term memory, to make things relevant. That's the dilemma, and that's actually the beauty of the balance. So if we want to take the dilemma out and bring the beauty of the harmony, then we need to incorporate the examples that intrigues their thinking. Say when we are talking about physics, if I want to make them think about electricity, static electricity, I can give them some examples. If I want to give them some current electricity, I can give examples of our households. They're using things, they're charging their phones, right? Whatever they're using, whatever things are relevant to them, we can bring examples from them, from those things, and make them think first, and then go into deeper discussion and have experiments for learning.
So I was about to ask you about the examples, and you have mentioned about that. I will read out the question to you. Can you share some specific examples of how integrating theory and experimentation in physics education contributes to the development of analytical thinking skills among students?
Okay, excellent question. So, as a teacher of grade 12 and 11, and also grade 10, what I found is when they're going to do the practicals on thermodynamics, if I give them examples like when you are trying to make a cup of tea, when you are trying to stand under the fan after you have come out of your playground, right? So, say I want to give an example of evaporation. I want to do a practical on evaporation. So first they need to understand what evaporation is. So there are lots of examples around me, right? Now, how do we integrate these things? As I said, first I need to borrow from their observation. Because I'm a teacher, I can't just, give out my observation and expect them to comprehend or take a perception out of it. So first, I need to understand their world, their observation, and then try to bring an example from that. So when I give them these examples, they say, "Yes, sir, yes, we do that, and yeah, we feel cold when you're standing, right below the fan. Why is it happening, sir?" I say, "Does your sweat go away?" They say, "Yes." What is happening? The liquid is going away. So this process is called evaporation. Obviously, you're not sitting on a stove to let your liquids evaporate. They say, "Yes, sir, sure." So this is how I think everybody should make a relevance and try to integrate with the experiment. So when they go for the experiment, they learn the rate of evaporation. But to understand the process of evaporation, they first need to relate with their observation. Thank you.
Right. So, what challenges do educators face in promoting this thinking culture, sir?
Well, as you know, thinking has become a very uh, rare culture. Not culture, actually. It's not even a practice nowadays. Why? Because we get so many ready-made things. We have models for practicals. We have simulations. We have answer papers. We have our teachers. We have YouTube videos, right? So many things around us. So when we go to shopping, if we have so many options, it makes us confused, right? So ultimately, we don't know what to buy, what to get. So focus is very important here. So this is the only thing I think the teachers are facing is lack of focus in the students. Why? Because they are exposed to so many information in the era of information and technology. I don't mind it. Obviously, they should get exposed. However, as a teacher, we need to drive them. We need to guide them that yes, today we are going to discuss these things. Let's say we are going to discuss grammar, right? So first, we should try to make them understand why rules are important. Not from the beginning we start with the rules like this is the noun, this is the pronoun, this is how you put the interjections, this is how you put the conjunctions, right? First, we need to make them understand why rules are important in life. What I tell my students sometimes is why constants are very important. Constants are the boundaries of the universe. So everybody has a boundary. We are not free. This idea of freedom, they need to change it. So how do I change it? I try to make relevance. As I had said again previously, that making relevance is very important. So challenges are there. I hope teachers are all the teachers are very fantastic. However, they need to relate and make things related to the students, make things relevant to the students according to their perception.
Right, sir. So, how should the educators inspire students to pursue careers in physics and contribute to scientific advancements through these theories?
Well, as a physics teacher, I have always told my students that physics is the only subject you need to learn. This is actually from the love for physics. However, everything is a science. The way we comprehend language, the way we comprehend business, everything is science. Science is what? Science is how we analyze the data and how we try to find out the best outcome possible. So business strategies have changed, right, over times. In the beginning of 18th century, the business strategy was different according to the culture and people's perceptions. Now the business strategy is different. So uh, what is happening here is if we want to study physics and build our career, and if we want to think about the contribution of physics in the advancement, it's actually very evident that physics actually talks about the nature of the universe. So anything we talk about medical science, we talk about business, science, mathematics, is everything inside the universe. So if physics is going to talk about the universe, then it includes all the law. So we need to understand this is a very important thing we need to develop inside your brain is we have to think out of the box. However, we have limitations. So accepting limitations and implementing the theories. I have seen so many uh, students saying that, sir, so many things have been discovered. Everything is discovered in physics. How am I going to do good? How am I going to discover something, invent something? Well, invention is something never stops. So if you study physics, if you understand physics, the nature, in the other hand, then you can overcome everything. And civilization is all about harmony. Only advancement, not thinking about something or keeping a very specific group aside, is not going to take us in a very good, sustainable, advanced future.
So, can you mention any success stories or positive outcomes you have observed in your students?
Yes. Well, I have a student uh, who was very much into robotics, right? He barely could manage to come to the classes, come to the regular lectures, come to the regular discussions, join the lab classes. However, he's doing pretty good in robotics. So one day I asked him, look, what made you think that you're going to do good in robotics? He said, well, sir, I have knack for it. I love it. I asked why. He said, well, I am building something, and that is, you know, following my commands, which is very, it's a epitome of happiness. And then I said, look, I'm a teacher, so I am trying to make students the future of the civilization. So as a teacher, I too sometimes want my students to listen to me. And sometimes I want my students to follow my instructions because I know better in some cases than my students. As much as you know better than your robots, how to build it, how to communicate with it, right? So if you're not coming to the class, I understand you have profound knowledge of robotics. You want to make a career in robotics. That is understandable. However, studying in school and have academics in your life is not going to limit you. Of course, orthodox academics like reading and writing, giving exams, getting grades, that is not what I'm talking about. But school system is what? School system is the place where you can implement all those uh, 6 practices that I mentioned in my talk to develop your thinking capability, which is writing, which is discussion. Meditating is you can keep yourself calm for a while during the school hours. And then what? Debating. You are debating with your friends, you are debating with the teachers. So lots of more ideas are coming out. So if you're thinking you want to flourish and achieve something in robotics, then you must need to explore your boundaries first. So that actually worked like a charm. I don't know whether it's going to work like a charm for everybody. Maybe it's my luck. That person actually did very good in his academics as well. I'm not going to say very good, excellent, but it was not needed. So it
That's
was a
great
very
to know.
inspiring story for me as well.
That's an achievement to you as an educator, right?
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Yes, of course.
That ends the question answer round. School Journal of Education and schoolreformer.com. Thank you for the talk and for patiently answering all the questions, sir. We also thank the audience for participating in the event. We will end the session. Mr. Syed, do you want to say anything else?
Well, thank you everybody for joining my session. I hope whoever has joined could take back something, even if it's a very small thing. My motto in life is to plant seeds, right? And to nourish them. So automatically the tree will be bigger and tree will be giving shades to so many others. So all the best to everybody out there who are teachers, who are learners. We will try to make a very better, we will try to make a very significant and excellent change in our future. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
We will end the session
Pravina.
now. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Have a nice day.